Hi guys, can you hear us?
Hi. So if anyone's on here, just, let us know in the chat so we can just see who's going to be able to talk with us.
And also let us know where you're from. Well, we kind of wanted to tell you like what's been going on like the last 7 months because we haven't been up here. So
yeah. So we've just been spending our time down southern Idaho. We've been at my dad's house for the whole entire time that we've been gone, spending time with him after my mom passed away in October. And of course we were just spending time with Matt's mom as well because she's been ill.
yeah, so it was good to be down there and take a big break from the build, even though we wanted to be up here, but we thought it was more important to be down there with family, and it was a nice break. So, and whenever there's a death in the family, there's all the stuff that happens that you don't really think about that has to be taken care of. How many death certificates do you need, and where do you need to take them,
Right.
and certain things that you find out, and you know does the family have a will or a living trust, and taking care of all that type of paperwork. It takes some time, and it wasn't you couldn't do everything like all in one day. You had to schedule appointments, go to the courthouse, or we found out when we were doing one thing. One thing that I would suggest is if you have a will, also I would get a living trust and not just a will.
Yeah.
One thing that we found out is Brenda's dad got a living will, living trust. I'm sorry, and that includes a will and a pour over will. If you don't know what that is, if you forget to put something in the trust, the pour over will actually pour it back into the trust. Now you may have to go through probate, but it puts it in the trust. And if you just have a will, you're going to have to go through probate. And probate is like, hey, I want to sue my family so I can have the things that my that since I'm a beneficiary, what was going to give to me. I have to go to court now, so the judge can be like, hey, this is what it's going to be. And if you have a large estate, probate can be like $25,000. So you're basically suing yourself, your family, for a judge to go, yeah, the will's good. You're paying attorneys fees and all this stuff, and then they give out everything according to the will. And if you have a trust, it takes care of all of that. The state doesn't even need to know what's in the trust. Everything that has a title, outside of vehicles and stuff like that. But your house, mainly land, property, should be titled in the trust name. That way it can go on for years, to your beneficiaries, to your grandchildren or great grandchildren. One thing we found out is when we went to put, when Brenda's dad was going to put the property into the trust, they asked us if you went through probate, and we were looking at each other like, no,
No.
and we didn't have the trust at the time, so they wanted to know how long Brenda's mom had been passed, and if it was 3 years in the state of Idaho, then you wouldn't have to go through probate. And since it was like 7 months ago, um, they went ahead and looked at the deed paperwork, and thank goodness they already had a common law type document in Idaho that said whoever passes first, they get the other 50% shares. So that was actually on file. So that really helped us. So we just took the deed and titled it into the trust name, and then went down to the courthouse and recorded it. And that's how easy it was. So that's all set up.
Yeah.
So, oh, hi Kelly. Thanks.
Hi, Kelly.
Thanks for jumping on. And,
Yeah.
and Dwayne, if you're there.
Yeah.
Don't want to forget you.
Yeah.
Yeah, these guys are really helpful. We actually came up for one day, and we scheduled it with them. So we drove up on a Friday, and they could meet us on a Saturday to take a look at our RV. We had some problems last year staying in it. We couldn't get any of the electrical to work.
Yeah.
And Dwayne has a history working with RVs, and we asked him if he would take a look at it. So we drove up, and they met us on Saturday, and it literally took him probably less than 15 minutes to figure out what the problem was. even though the whole thing probably took around 30 minutes because he was double checking everything else. And it turned out that our GFCI outlet, I don't know if it was from the dealership or probably not the dealership, but or the prior owner put it in and they wired it incorrectly. And so none of our outlets were working, even though it had a green light on it.
Right. Yeah.
So it's kind of frustrating. Last year we didn't have any electricity inside. We were running power cords in. Air conditioner didn't work, and
Yeah, it is, Kelly. It is. Everything's working good. Like I said, we just haven't tried the air conditioner yet, but everything's working really good right now.
yeah. So thank you.
Yeah.
And we did have to change out the GFC outlet on the pedestal outside where we plugged in. We put in a new one, but it just kept tripping it. So we just put in a water resistant one, and it works great now. So
Yeah.
we're real thankful for that.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it. So this year has been a little bit better so far with
Yeah.
all the power working. Brenda can use a hair dryer.
Yeah. I got to do it for all this curly hair that I've got.
We can plug the coffee pot in. So that's awesome.
Yeah. So, anyway, so like about the, like I said, we got my dad set up with a living trust now, so that's going to help out because I have 3 other siblings and that. So when that time comes, it'll make it a lot easier for us. So that was good that we were down there with him so we can get him, all set up with that. But yeah, we just spent, like I said, the whole winter with him. It was kind of nice having a house again where I can make, good home meals, for dinner. But it was cold down there just like it was like up here in the wintertime. We just didn't get as much snow down southern Idaho as North Idaho did.
Yeah.
And that.
Yeah.
But
and what I was going to say about the so if you don't have a trust, I would suggest that you make that investment, and it'll give you a peace of mind. We got one in 2016, and we actually tried to talk Brenda's parents into getting one, but they just went with the will, and their attorney was like, "You don't need one." And if an attorney tells you that, they may not be wrong because your assets you might not have a lot of assets, but really that's not the point because part of the will or the trust is like your end of life decisions. And if you get in an accident and you've already talked this through with your spouse, like when to pull the plug or what kind of treatment do you want, and that's part of the will. So just to have that and the power of attorney for your financials and stuff is worth it. So I would recommend getting a good attorney. Actually, after this video post, I'll put a link in to the firms that we're using, and they're a great firm and they're very, very thorough. They're out in Nevada, Wyoming, and Washington, and this is one of the things that they do. And our trust, literally, I'll pull it out here. This is the binder right here, and this is how thick it is that goes through everything. So we're not joking when it says that this covers everything. And what's great is there's personal property in here that, like, I own mine and Brenda owns hers. And we can take in, on my section, I can be like, hey, I want my guitar to go to my brother. And I write it on there and then I initial it. And then I'm like, no, he made me mad. I'm going to give that, I move down another line. I go, no, I'm going to give that to, one of my other friends. And I can initial it. So there's no bickering. And so they basically, when I graduate, pass away, they just go to the last page and they read up and find out who the most current person is. And that property goes to them. So I don't have to change my trust or anything. Everything's set. It's good to review it once a year, twice a year, because Brenda's mom was a trustee, and now that she's passed, my brother will be the trustee for both of us. But those type of things, you can get that amended, so it's not written in stone or anything. But definitely, this is how thick it is, and it covers everything and that you can think of. And for instance, like our son Isaac, we have a stipulation in there, like if we both pass away and our life insurance policies go into the trust, well, Isaac can't just take it and go down to Vegas and blow all the money because he gets certain installments at like 25, 30, and 35 to help him. And in case he gets married and divorced, which we hope would never happen, but then the ex-spouse can't take his money and because he doesn't have all of it, it's not all distributed. So these are some of the things that the wealthy people do in the nation, and smart investors. So that's what we did. So sorry, this is a rant about trust, but if you don't have one, you need to get one, and
Yeah.
it's very, very important. So
And Kelly, we're kind of finishing up on what we left off when we were starting to build. So we're just kind of tidying up everything, but we're getting ready to put the roofing on, hopefully by next week.
yeah, and so that's probably one of the things that we're going to talk about. And my mom's cancer is not progressing, but it's not getting any better. And so she's still down there getting treatment, and she has, some dementia. So we're, as a family, we've talked about balancing, quality of life versus quantity of life. So if the body's still somewhat healthy because of the cancer, but then the brain isn't functioning, and she's not at that stage yet. Do we continue treatments, and do we take her off treatments, and she goes into hospice? So right now, she's continuing treatments. She's with a like a pseudo family member that's very well rehearsed in Medicare, Medicaid, and knows everybody down in the valley, and a very good connection. So we feel very blessed to have somebody taken care of, and that's where she's staying at. So, and we have home health care coming in, and we get texts all the time and pictures of the nurse that takes care of her. So it's really good. It's great.
Yeah.
So
Brent's asking if we're uploading tomorrow.
So I'm working on the video. So videos take a long time, and I might do one on Monday. It's us coming to the property. It'll probably be a short 8-minute one, just kind of like what we're doing since we got up here. But I can't publish the videos too soon, because then we won't have any content, because it takes about a week to film, and then after we get done filming, so we'll work, like a 10-12 hour day, and then I come in and start editing and cutting down stuff, and it really takes like a week to do a 15-minute video. So it does take a while. So we haven't really discussed if we're doing it on Saturday. I was thinking maybe Monday to give us some time on the weekend. I still got to throw this into a video editor, and do all the technical stuff with the volume and the music and stuff like that. So so probably look for it on Monday.
Yeah.
And then
just give us time, because we're just trying to get back into filming again. We did do some shorts, so if you haven't taken a look at any of our shorts that we've done, we did some while we were down, in southern Idaho. So anyway, just give us some time. We'll get videos going as soon as we get on the roll again, on the ball again.
Yeah, and it's been kind of raining, so we can't be outside, and so that is one factor. But we did come up, and it took us about a week to go through our shed, our tiny cabin, and our barn to clean out everything. So when we left, we were kind of in a hurry. Isaac and I were building the end caps, and then we just put our tools away, and everything was kind of done in haste.
Yes.
And so we came back, and Brenda cleaned out the shed, and then we cleaned out the barn to organize everything so it wouldn't be as stressful, and we could find out where stuff was at.
Hello, Lee777. Nice to see you, and thank you, Kelly.
Yeah. So that took about a week, and we did have some stuff break. So we had we had a tote filled with spices.
Yeah, since we were in a hurry, I put like a lot of spices, which I did think about. I should have brought them with us, but we packed our vehicles pretty full of other stuff, and I put spices like in a container, and I had a rice vinegar, which was in a glass bottle, and that ended up breaking, and all the contents came out of it. Got all the bottom, parts of like the spice bottles all wet, and the container smelled very lovely of really rice vinegar.
We're going through them, and we just opened it up a little bit to look, and I was like, "Whoa, that smells good," And then Brenda took it out, and then we noticed it broke, and it was all over the bottom of it.
Yeah. Anyways, but we did, like I said, we had things that kind of, the weather just burst, like distilled water bottles that broke. Don't know where that water ended up disappearing to, but it did. Um, but yeah, otherwise, not. I mean, it wasn't too bad. We just had like a mess to clean up because we packed our barn and our little cabin that we've got for storage, just with everything. So it was a complete disaster mess just to get it back in an orderly fashion.
And we did have a green bean can.
Oh yeah, and I had some green beans that were in cans that one of them exploded, and so it kind of rusted the bottoms of the other cans. So I kind of pitched a lot of those out because I'm not sure how good they were going to be. So
Yeah. So we've been busy, but we'll get back on the videos as soon as we can. A lot of planning to go in, but so for the build, our next steps are we want to try to get the insulation and the siding on this coming week, maybe like Tuesday or Wednesday. Um, Now, we can't do it ourselves, so that's the problem. Is we're trying to enlist some help because one side panel, which is 3 feet, I guess, tall, is 41 feet long. So three of us can't pick that up and carry it over to the arch cabin. It's going to take like 4 or 5 of us, and then when we screw that on, and then when we put the next one on top of it, lifting them up and scooting them up, it's going to take a team where we're going to have to throw some ropes over the top of the center beam and then tie it on and then hoist it up and over. And so that's what we plan on doing. And then we're still figuring out the windows.
no, I think we know the windows. It's just trying to price out which windows to get because I'm wanting black trim on the outside of the window where the white is on the inside. Those, of course, cost a lot more than what your just normal vinyl white windows are. So I'm just trying to figure out if I should go that route or just go with the just the white, plain white ones.
Yeah. What's your opinion?
Yeah.
What should we do, white or black?
Right.
Now, Home Depot has like this 15% off sale right now until the 4th. And we did get some price quotes, and the black ones are like $400 a window, and we need 7 of them.
At least right now we need 7. There's some more with the addition part that we added on. We'll have to have windows in there, but that's not important right now. So
yeah, and they're $400 because they're like there's 3 different brands, and they're vinyl or a fiber tech. But because we want black on the outside and white, they cost a little bit more. And versus if we just went with the Home Depot Polygen normal vinyl, I think it's like $200, $250 a window, something like that. Yeah. So we're debating, BBTH has to be happy. So.
But let's see. Yeah, Kelly, we definitely, I mean, if you and Dwayne can come help, that would be great. Of course, depends. We're trying to decide what day is going to be best for everybody. Yeah. That can help us. Come over to do it. So.
Yeah, and the weather, we got to coordinate that. So.
Right.
And we don't have a straight line to that guy, so we can't do a little dance and get the weather right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Saturday would be best because that's when most people are usually off and can come over and help. And when I talked to the Arch Cabin owner's son, Jeremy, his name's Jeremy, he's a really nice guy. And he says it takes about 2 days to put up the siding. That's because there's thousands of screws we have to put in. So I think you can do the siding in a day or maybe a day and a half, but he's like, then you have to come back and he's like, you'll have to put in those 1,000 screws. And so if we can just get it covered, that would be great. And we don't have a problem coming back and putting in the screws. Yeah. But the manpower of lifting up those things and doing that. So that's what we're looking at doing. So I still have to frame the windows, do the rough framing of the windows. Still have that to do. And we're trying to do that before we get the siding on. That way we can cut the OSB and we can have a little bit of light coming in through the Tyvek, so it's not pitch black inside when we're want to work on the inside.
Right.
And I think our plan is we get the siding on, which will cover that, and then we're going to build the bump out. Going to frame it out, build
Mhm.
it, kind of put like a lean-to roof on it, and get that dried in. So then that'll dry in the cabin, and then we'll start focusing on the outside of the cabin, as in stuff to do on the outside.
Right.
Our woodshed, we're gonna unpack the woodshed, take everything out, and turn the wood around and split it and put it back in. The way it is right now is kind of fallen to one side because our ground kind of slopes, so we didn't stack it right. Um, and So we got that to do, some outside stuff. We still need to pick out a fireplace. We haven't decided on
Right. Yeah.
what kind of fireplace we want yet. Well, it'd be like a wood stove, so not like a
right.
fireplace, but a wood
Yeah.
stove.
Wood. Mhm.
Um, and I kind of like one of those outside burner ones. What are they called? Where it just stays outside, and you just
Oh,
throw a whole
yeah.
bunch of wood in it, and you got to run the piping under the ground, and it comes up inside. But those are pretty spendy, like $20,000 versus a $5,000 wood stove. So,
Right.
$2,000 to $5,000 wood stove. But yeah, maybe in the future. But keeps the mess outside, the wood outside, the bugs outside. You're not tracking it all in. Although you probably have to go outside twice a day,
Yeah.
maybe,
You're right.
and just load it up. But um, yeah. So those are some things that we're doing.
Otherwise, I was gonna say. Otherwise, we're just been trying to get around the weather that we had, and we do have mosquitoes that are pretty bad right now. So
Yeah.
you can't really sit outside because they want to bite you.
Mhm. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's all that we've been pretty much doing right at the moment.
Yeah. It's good to be up here. It's a little bit more humid up here than in southern Idaho in the desert. We can definitely tell a difference where, like, you just kind of walk outside and you start working a little bit and you just start sweating.
Mm-hmm.
Where it can be like 90 to 100 down there, and you go outside and you'll have like just a drip of sweat, but your shirt won't be covered. Up here it's like 70, 75, and like your midsection is covered. But
Yeah.
maybe that's a hint for me to lose weight. So I don't know. Yeah, something like that. But it's good to be back up here. It's good to go to church. Again, fellowship with our friends and stuff like that. And it's just nice being up here, away from everybody, and it's peaceful. And our YouTube community that we're involved with,
Yeah.
it's such a blessing to be with them and around them, and they're so helpful. And and they live all over. They live in like 30 miles away, or Priest River,
Mm-hmm.
or Bonner's Ferry up towards the Canadian border, and towards Montana, and in Montana. One of our friends moved back to Montana, so it'd be great to go see them, and Renovation Ranch.
Good
Miss you,
evening,
Phil.
Danielle.
Hello. Oh, awesome.
So, Kelly, are the mosquitoes bad like in Priest River where you're at, or at your other home?
Yeah.
Yeah, just sitting here in the trailer and the door, our screen door, we have a whole bunch of them just because it's warm in the trailer, but there's tons of mosquitoes on the screen. So we've got some stuff tougher than Tom, mosquito,
Yeah.
whatever it's
Yeah, it's
called.
like a special blend yeast that they use that's proprietary.
Yeah, so
that-
we're trying that out. Matt put those out around four corners of the property of where we're mostly at, but I don't know if they're working yet.
Yeah, I bought it a year ago, so I'm hoping that the yeast didn't die,
Yeah.
or whatever like that. But it says to give it a week, and it's supposed to attract them and do that. But maybe I just need to buy some more current one.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
um,
But
yeah, let's see.
yeah, I know that
Yeah,
it's funny how like being in the city and where we were with my dad, we didn't have like anything like that down there.
yeah.
Are they, Daniel? Yeah.
Yeah.
Must be that must have not been cold enough to kill these guys. So.
Yeah. Well, in the city, like there's a mosquito probate or whatever. Sometimes they go and they spray. And then when you live in the county, I don't really think they do that.
Yeah.
So it's up to us to take care of it and cut our grass and stuff. So, all right. Hey, Robert.
Hi, Robert.
Hey, thanks for joining us. Yeah, awesome.
Is there any questions that you guys have for us? I mean, that we can answer for you that you're curious about?
Mm-hmm.
I say we don't do a whole lot. I mean, we're just trying, we're new DIYers trying to build this arch cabin. So.
Oh wow, saw one during the winter. Dang. Yeah.
Oh wow.
I guess. Yeah, I really haven't talked about. We haven't really talked about. We just kind of started our channel, and you guys kind of knew that I was in the military, and but we can talk about how we met if you want to, and then which is kind of funny, but not funny, but yeah. Um,
Yeah. Kelly, we've mowed our little pasture area that we've got out. It actually needs to be mowed again. It's getting about 6 inches or so tall. But even we've got grass that's underneath our travel trailer that we need to weed whack and get that knocked down, because I noticed like the mosquitoes have been around the steps. But yeah, we need to get out and mow the grass so that maybe we can get the mosquitoes to disappear.
yeah.
So.
Yeah. But yeah, so I was active duty Air Force for 4 years, from 1990 to 94. I actually turned 18 in basic training, and I didn't tell anybody. I didn't want that headache, if you know what I mean. And I was stationed in Rhein-Main, Germany, at Frankfurt, during 90 to 92, right when the war kicked off in January of 91. I remember that vividly. I was like, "Oh my God, I'm 18. We're going to war. What in the world?" And then I went to Tinker, Oklahoma, and then I got out of the service after 4 years. And then I got a postcard in the mail from the Idaho Air National Guard that's saying, "Hey, there's an aerial port." That's what I used to do, was aerial port, air transportation. They're starting one up, so I joined for 1 year. They called it a try one, and then I served another 20, I don't know, 5 years with the Air National Guard.
Mm-hmm.
But 23 of those were active duty, as if I was active duty, active Guard Reserve. So I did a total of 23 years of active duty and 32 years in the Air Force. And when I was a traditional guardsman, if you're doing the math here, I was in law enforcement for 8 years, and I was in southern Idaho and then Washington State. I was a police officer over there, and our unit deployed. And while we were deployed, I got hired into the comptroller office in the Idaho Guard, so into finance, and that's how I left law enforcement. But one night when I was working shift, there was a new hotel that was being built, or was built, and there was a police substation in there where we could go and do our police reports. And somebody just happened to be working at the counter during the night.
And that would be me.
Thanks,
I was a front desk advisor for a hotel. I booked like all the meetings and stuff, or booked hotel rooms for guests. And anyways, because I lived, the small town that I lived in, that's where I first started off at two different hotels. And anyway, they transferred me to this hotel that was brand new so I could help them open it up. And so that's how I ended up meeting Matt. Another police officer that was patrolling that night with him had said about there's this, lady at the desk that you need to come in and check out. So anyway, so that's what he did.
I swaggered in with my gun belt. It's like, "Hey, can I use the computer in the back?"
Yeah.
And I didn't know she was checking me out, so I just
Yeah. So anyway, but we went on our first date and
Yeah.
back.
She asked me out when I was on duty. I'm like,
Yes.
you can't do that. That's
Yeah.
like against the rules. Like, no, you have to wait till I'm off duty. Something like that. I'm like, I can't even talk to you about this.
I mean business and I want to get it done, so that's why I asked him.
Yeah. So
So
anyway, so then I guess it worked out. Well,
yeah. Hi Anna. But yeah, so we've been married for 24 years, and of course we have one son, Isaac, that he's been in, in the videos. And of course Isaac was born premature, but you wouldn't be able to tell that he was only a pound and 9.5 ounces when he was born. But he's taller than me. I remember when he was 13 years old, and was taller than me because I'm not that tall. So anyway, but
yeah. So yeah. So that's kind of our life and relationship in a nutshell.
yeah.
32 years, boom, just like that. Like, wow. Um, but yeah, the military is hard on your body. Like during last year in the build, I was like, okay. And then that 7-month break, I'm like, man, my joints aren't working very well. I'm
No.
walking like I'm bow-legged and my knees are hurting, my ankles are hurting, and it just hurts to get up and down now. So I think it's catching up with me. I'm only 50. I mean, I got another 50 to go.
Yeah.
You're welcome, Danielle. Um, yeah, so I think I have a unique perspective on life. Like, some things are upsetting to people, and with some of the police calls that I've been on, they haven't. It's funny. Like I told my brother, I have a twin brother. When I was active duty, I told him, "Hey, never put yourself in a situation where you're like going to regret it later in life." And I'm like, he was thinking like about being a police officer. I'm like, dude, don't be a police officer. You don't want to do that. You never know, right? And then I always told myself, man, I don't want to handle anybody's finances. Like, who wants to do that? And what do? I become a police officer, and then I go to finance for the military, right? Well, nobody calls finance because they're happy. It's because their pay's messed up. And I'm like, what am I doing? And then I'm handling calls that I'm trying to solve 15 years of problems in family situations in like 10 minutes.
Right.
They're calling me and I'm like, well, it took you 15 minutes to create this. I can't solve it in 10 minutes. But dealing with those situations. So, um, so I have a different perspective on certain situations and how to handle things. And I mean, I didn't have a problem going hands-on and arresting people. And I actually have it's not a Supreme Court, but it's a Ninth Circuit of Appeals Court upheld where this guy went to prison for life for stealing beer. He did a beer run and we caught him, but he was so mad after the beer run that he got caught that he went home and stewed about it. And then he walked to the payphone across from the supermarket and said he had a bomb and he wanted to blow the place up, and then he was going to go back over there and kill everybody. Something like that, paraphrasing. And as I'm there taking the police report, he walks by, and I'm like, "Is that him?" And they're like, "Yeah, that's him." And so I step out there, and I'm like confronting him. And one of the rules in handling people is 21 feet away, somebody with a knife can move in 3 steps in 21 feet, which is really quick, and you can't. It'll be very difficult for you to take out your service pistol if you have to, because action is faster than reaction. So they're already moving, and so with the threat that the guy made, I'm talking to him and I have my distance, but I see him take his hand and put it around behind his back. And I'm like, oh my God, is this it? Is this the instance? Is this happening right now? And it was like slow motion. And I ran at this guy and I pushed him. I picked him up, pushed him against the Coke machine, and then threw him to the ground face first. And then I kind of put my knee on his back and I started patting him down. And sure enough, he had about a 10-inch knife in his front pocket. And I was like, what are you going to do with that? And he looked up and he said, I'm going to kill that beep, beep, beep right there. And I was like, you have the right to remain silent. And and I finished handcuffing him. And but that's kind of the nuts and bolts of it. And it was like a 3 strikes and you're out kind of thing. and he was charged with a whole bunch of things. And anyway, yeah, he went away for the rest of his life, and based on my expert police writing skills and my observations, obviously, and my training. I'm just kidding. That now the state did mess up. They forgot to prove one element. And as I'm reading the Court of Appeals thing, I'm like, oh yeah, the state forgot to do that. Why? Yep. Nope. I totally agree. Totally agree. But everything else was like solid. Basically, what I'm saying is my part was top notch. But anyway, but I've had several cases like that, and foot pursuits, fights, macing people, tasering people, and it's like, who wants to deal with that? Like, sign me up for finance. Let me handle pay problems.
Well, Anna says, well, you definitely don't want to be a police officer now.
No,
and that's for sure.
That's true. Yeah.
Not at all.
I mean, we need them. We definitely need them. But dealing with the political stuff right now, it's like, no. But I mean, I still have a lot of friends that serve and stuff like that. So I feel for them. But it was good. I mean, I think God used me during that time, and which actually helped me transition to the Air Force active duty. And deal with problems there when people come in and they were not happy with their pay. But I worked 4 jobs in the Air Force, and finance, base training, and education. So I sent people to like their formal training and basic training. And where did I go after that? Well, aerial port air transportation, and then my last 4 or 5 years were in cyber or communications. And that's where I put on my last stripe for chief, which is an E9. So I feel really blessed about that. Making chief in the Air Force it's like 1% of the people in the military do that. Now I don't know what the guard stat is, but in Idaho there's really only 13 stripes out of 1,000 people to make that rank. So it's very, very high competition. So I had to have my A game on, but I'm very blessed about doing that. So,
Kelly, as far as the timeline for finishing the cabin, we do have a timeline as far as like getting the roof on to close it out.
yeah,
But no timeline. We just want to do it debt free as much as possible. So it's going to just go as the money is there. So it may take us a while to get it done, but the main thing is just to get it closed in so that we can have a warm place during the winter times. So
yeah, and we have some cedar trees on our property and some other trees that we kind of want to, have sawn, and maybe asking, because we can farms,
Heather,
to use the sawmill, because we'd like to have some cool cedar beams in there, or maybe some cedar siding somewhere inside the house, or we got some other Douglas fir and some pine trees and stuff. But we haven't thought about all this. All these are like ideas that we want to do. It'd be
right.
cool to have a big timber frame type beam inside the house, or a big slab that you can make it like a table out of, or you pull up your chair and you sit there. I can't remember what it's called, but it's not the table, but it's
I know.
a seating area that would be pretty cool out of like a live edge piece of wood.
Right.
Yeah. So. Yes.
Robert.
Yep. All right. Do you guys have any other questions? Counter. Yes. Yeah.
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 I don't know. It just cedar's such a pretty wood, so trying to incorporate somewhere in the house with it. So.
Yeah, we've seen them in some log cabins where they actually, as they're stacking the logs on, tall, they put a piece of that, I guess the counter or whatever it's going to be, like directly into the wall that comes all the way out. And so it's like 4 inches thick, and it's huge, like maybe 3 feet wide, but it's built into the house and it comes all the way out. And that's a cool idea. It's not even going to be built in our house, but that's where we kind of got the idea. So that would be pretty cool.
The cedar tongue, I mean, that's something that we've thought about doing the inside walls with. Not trying to get away from doing a lot of drywall, but yeah, like cedar plank or something like that in the that went all the way up from the floor to the ceiling. I think that would look pretty cool. So. Yeah, we can't see or can't wait to see what we do too. I mean, this is, I mean, like I say, a lot of it is like, you think you know what you're doing, and then you're on your phone trying to figure out how to do something and how to get it planned out right so you can do it correctly the first time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's exciting. I can't wait for the cabin to have the roof on. I can't wait to see what it looks like, because just seeing the ribs right now, you just kind of visualize that it's going to look pretty cool once the panels are up.
Yeah.
So.
And we painted the floor, before we left, and Brenda did roller skate on it, but I didn't film it.
Oh yeah.
So she did.
The floor's a little rough.
Yeah. But pretty well. We're kind of I'm kind of impressed, even though we just put one coat on. It held up pretty well. I mean, water seeped through, and there was like 2 feet of snow on it. And it's not too spongy or anything like that. And so it is nice. However, we do have a problem in the crawl space. We anticipated some mold and stuff like that, and we cut out air vents, and then a big air vent where we crawl underneath the house, but it still has some mold that came up that we need to take care of. So that's why we're in a hurry to get the siding on, the roof on, and then the underneath dried out, and we're going to put the plastic back over it, and then we're going to have that remediated and cleaned or something, whether we do it or hire somebody else to do it. So yeah.
Most likely have someone do it, because there's a lot of bending. Even though our wall is 4 feet high, you've got the beams that are going across, and I bumped my head many times underneath those because you forget that they're there.
Yeah. Or if you're tall like me and you're bending over, you crack your back on it, not your head, but your back.
Yeah.
But that's an issue we're gonna have to deal with, and we kind of expected some mold, but not the amount that we have, and maybe just because I haven't experienced, I think there's a lot, but it's not like completely black under there or anything like that. But there's just, you can see it, and it just bothers me that that it happened, but we knew it was going to. So so we have 3 fans underneath there right now that have been blowing for like 4 or 5 days. Well, actually, since we've been here, so we've been here about a week. A little over a week. So the fan's been blowing underneath there, except for when it rains, we unplug them, and just to kind of like get the moisture off of the wood and stuff like that. So so we'll have to deal with that. But
yeah, Anna, whenever you come, love to see you. But if there's no other questions, I guess we'll sign off. I mean, this is just something we thought we would do, just to kind of touch base, because I know we lost a lot of subscribers after we stopped filming and uploading videos. So we just wanted to kind of talk to you a little bit, since we're behind on getting videos out, because it's going to take us a little bit so that we can get on track again, and that with some content for you guys to watch. So
but we love you guys, and several of you guys have reached out to us to express your condolences and just to check in on us, so we really appreciate that. And a couple of you guys have bought us coffee through our link, buy a cup of coffee, and we really appreciate that.
Thank you.
And I mean, you guys are just great subscribers, and you motivate us, and we just like having a conversation with you, and having you come along on the build with us, because this is something new for us, so we just want to do it. And we want to live a lifestyle that's not too stressful and as debt-free as we can, and then be a helpful and blessing to the other people out there in the community, so that once we're settled, we can go help them. And we did sponsor a child too, actually, from Zimbabwe, and Owelthu is her name, if I'm pronouncing it right, but she's 8 years old, and got a picture of her. I don't have it with me, but we just love her to death, and we've been corresponding with her through email. I'm not sure how often she gets them, but it's it's been fun to do that, and she has written us a letter, and we did receive that, and that took 4 weeks to get to us.
Mm-hmm.
But um, I don't know. It's just kind of cool that we can talk to somebody on the other side of the world, and our little $40 a month or whatever it is that we do helps them out so much. It's just unbelievable. So
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. But yeah. Anyway, so thanks for joining us. We
Thank
appreciate it.
you. We appreciate it. We'll see you on the next video. Bye, guys.